This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and this is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog network. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, or you need some help setting up your audio, we are there to help you out there. So if you give us a shout, we'll have an air check recording now, running now till 5, and then we'll post it later on YouTube, and you'll be able to go to YouTube and do a call letter search of Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that will take you to our Qso-Vlog page. And on that page you'll find a Qso entitled My Group Air Check. Today's date 3/1/19. My Group Air Check. 3/1/19. This is KC9VKV.
Kilo Golf 5 Tango Tango Tango. Kilo Golf 5 Tango Bravo Tango.
Kilo Golf 5 Tango, and repeat the rest.
Kilo Golf 5 Tango Bravo Tango.
Roger, roger. And what's the name there, please?
The name is Paul, Peter, Ado, Uncle, Lima.
Roger, roger, Paul. I'm copying you just a little bit off frequency. I'm not real sure what's going on there. It sounds like it might be low, but not a bunch, just a tad. Roger.
Jim, I talked to you last Friday, and I watched the videos, and I learned some things. And my transceiver has a clarification control that I didn't see when we were talking because my microphone blocks the view. So what would you like me to do? Go up O2?
Yes, in transmit. I need about, I think O2 would do it, but I'm not real sure, because sometimes it sounds like it goes in the opposite direction. But if you would like, try moving your transmit point O2 up. Roger.
I'm going to do it. O2 now. How does that sound?
Sounds better, sir. Sounds better. I think we're ballpark now. And where are you, sir? What's your location?
West Monroe, Louisiana.
I see. What's that close to?
Between Shreveport and Vicksburg.
I see. Well, you give me a beautiful signal there. It's about a 10 over. And is your power rating 100?
I have a Yaesu FT-990, 26 years old. I have a 130-foot lazy blue long wire with SWR less than 10 through 80 meters, with one leg up 70 feet and an oak tree.
Roger. And what kind of power are you running?
100 watts.
Roger, roger. Well, FYI, you're listening to another Yaesu 990. I thought it was older than that. I thought it was 35 years old, Roger. But you know, it is equal to what work's been done to it. This is pretty heavily modified incoming and outgoing, Roger.
Well, I bought it on eBay for $550. And it may be older than 26 years old, but it was delivered basically perfect. My antenna is so good, I have the antenna tuner turned off. So you're actually using the FT-990. You sound great.
Roger, roger. Well, I mean, it's for all the work that's gone into it, it's super linear receive mode, just from the very, very bottom frequencies to beyond its capability. I mean, as far as legal transmit, so it has a very, very broad, flat receive, and the transmit has been modified to give me about a 3. Well, this is a 990 is a 2.4. We're running about a 3 plus slightly.
Alpha Victor Tango. You're up by the manual. I have the original manual that came with it, and my ALC is up at the top of the range.
Oh, Roger, Roger. Yes, that's the place to be for sure. That 990 can take an excursion on the ALC. A lot of radios, when they start headed towards the the end of the line there, they start to break up quite a bit. The 990 can hold it right to the end there, and we usually run though just between mid-scale and 2/3. That's what I recommend running, Roger.
Well, I would say my LC, when I'm talking, it's actually going a little bit above.
Roger, Roger. Well, I don't hear any undue distortion, so I'm I'd say go for it, Roger. Usually, I mean, the thing that happens is you'll start getting distortion because the ALC is actually a limiter, and there's only a certain amount that you can expect a limiter to handle without distorting, because it is such a fast attack and release time, unlike a compressor, which has got a much slower attack and release time, and therefore a compressor can do 20 dB work, whereas a limiter, you could only expect maybe 3-4 dB of limiting before you start hearing it, Roger.
What do you think about my compression? Now, I belong to the Night Watch Net.
Stand by, Eric.
A couple of the guys to give me a reading on compression, and I've got it adjusted based on what they said sounded good. What do you think?
Sounds good to me. I don't know exactly how much you're running, but I tell you that the test is, if you're looking at your watt meter and you key down, you're in single sideband, and you key down, and the meter does not move up forward, which indicates that you don't have a lot of residual blow-by that you're sucking up from the next room and the kids and the elephants and the wife and the air conditioner, then you're all right. If it just slightly moves up off the line, you're all right. But if it goes on up an inch or 2 inches, on the meter, you got to realize that you're probably compressing and you're restricting your bandpass too much. Not bandpass, but your the dBs as far as your dynamic range, like unprocessed, you're probably running 10 dB dynamic range, and then as you start to process, your dynamic range starts to become limited, and the more you process, the more limited it is. And ideally, you want to hit about a 3 dB dynamic range, and then that's a pretty fat signal there, Roger.
I changed the meters to power, and it's bumping 100 watts.
Roger, 100 watts. Well, what you want to do, like I say, is, next time you're transmitting, if you just key the key without speaking, and then look at the residual RF level, you don't want to have much coming up on the meter. If you compress too much, that meter will start coming up, like a third or something like that, which is, really too much compression to be running, Roger.
Okay, I'm going to press the mic key, but just briefly, and see what it does. When I press the mic key, it actually goes down.
I'm not real sure how that would work. In other words, you have a zero level. If you're not transmitting, you're looking at your watt meter. The watt meter is reading at a certain place, and then when you key, it's got to have a little bit more there than it's resting no transmission position. Roger.
When I press the mic key, it goes down to 20 watts.
Before you press the mic key, you should not be transmitting at all. I mean, and you should have, that should be a zero resting place for your watt meter. With no transmission going on, it should be at a certain place. And then when you hit transmit, it should move forward some, even if you're not speaking, but very little, Roger.
Well, I don't have an ideal situation. My noise level is about S7 or S8.
Oh, I see. So your meter is reading your meter is reading incoming receive level, and then goes to transmit. I've got you. I thought you might have an external watt meter. Roger, Roger.
I do have an external SWR watt meter, but when I got this radio, it was all combined, and I took it off. It's not needed. But I watched the video, and I very much wanted to talk to you today again and get your critique. And if you think that there's anything I need to do, I appreciate you telling me. If you think it's right where it needs to be, then I'd like to hear that too.
Roger. Well, it's hard for me to really appraise the audio when the frequency is in question as much as it is. What I would suggest would be that maybe you contact somebody that runs a shop that would be handling maybe some slight modifications or tune-up on that radio, and see what they think about your operating frequency. Roger, Roger?
Well, I'm talking with the plus .02 increase.
Roger, and you know, go back to your 718900.
Okay.
Sorry, Eric.
Okay, I'm back to 00. Take your time.
Now he's on frequency.
All right, talk to me just a little bit there, Paul.
Okay. Well, I changed it back to 00, and I'll talk just a little bit and let you get a reading on it. We've got a nice, pretty day today, but we got some rain coming.
Roger, Roger. It is a lot closer on frequency. Let's just go with it that way. And the audio sounds, you have about a 3 dB dynamic range, so I would say that you're right on top of it as far as where that audio needs to be. Again, you know, I would suggest just a little more top-end EQ. If you have a three adjustment EQ, I would go to I'd leave mid-range flat. I'd go to the top and punch up a couple of more dB on the top end EQ. Roger.
You're talking about compression?
No, equalization.
Okay, well, that's the process control, and I'm going to increase it slightly.
Well, now EQ is not, well, it's a part of processing, but it's not to compression. It is frequency adjustment where you are actually tuning the response of the microphone through equalization as far as the top end and the bottom end, Roger. It's not compression as such.
Well, on this radio it's called clarification.
Now, clarification is a frequency adjustment. Equalization has to do only with transmit audio as far as modifying the frequency response of the microphone. Roger?
Okay, well, I have the Yaesu MD1 dynamic microphone.
Roger, I tell you, you sound, the more I listen to you, you're sounding pretty good. Maybe we'll just leave things alone. I think you're doing pretty good.
The EQ on that's going to menu.
Well, I'm very pleased at
I know, I bet.
Ports, but I definitely wanted to let you listen and get your opinion.
Roger, Roger. Now, my opinion would be, and you may not like this, but I think for that microphone, you're doing pretty good. If you had EQ that you could crank in as far as equalization, that you could crank in, that would bring the brightness of the top end of that microphone out further, that would be great. But I have a suggestion, and I don't know if, you know, how things are there, but if you ever had the possibility of getting a condenser desk mic, you would be amazed at the beautiful articulation capabilities of a condenser mic over a dynamic mic. Roger?
Well, I would like to do that. I've used this because it's worked very good, but if I can make it better, I don't mind spending a little money.
Roger that. Well, you know, a condenser microphone is particularly well adapted to process upper-end audio, much more so than a dynamic microphone. If you compare the two, to make the dynamic microphone somewhat close to a condenser microphone, you would probably have to take the full end of your top-end EQ boost on the dynamic microphone to make it come up to somewhere better than the condenser microphone would be starting at a flat position. Roger?
Okay, I understand. Well, I can't adjust the EQ on the radio that I know of, and I don't think my microphone, so I'm stuck with what I've got. What do you think about the frequency? It's back to 00 now.
Roger, I think it's close. To me, it sounds like it might be slightly off, but we're only talking slightly. It's a lot closer to that than where we were. You know, to me, it sounded like it might have been a tad low. But I've run into this before, and it's just a small thing there, and so I would just sally forth the way it is. I think your audio's right on target. Roger.
I'm glad to hear that, and I don't mind twisting knobs, and I just apologize. Last week, the microphone blocked the view of the clarification control, and I didn't have enough sense to remember it.
Roger that. Roger that. Yeah, well, I've been there. I used to run a Drake TR4C, and a lot of times that's you know, the old true VFO situation there. You can wind up between the cracks on that kind of VFO, and where you're not actually moving at decimal points, you're moving at analog and fall between the cracks, man, places that well, anyway, and you know that TR4C, you're constantly playing catch up because it suggested that you let it run for half an hour. Well, that's maybe true, but who can sit there and wait for half an hour? So I just fire it up and start, and then just play catch up. Roger.
Okay, correct. My name is Paul, not Roger.
Roger, Paul. Or Paul, Roger.
One more question, Jim. What kind of condenser microphone do you suggest?
I'm not sure. Just one that now I'm sure that you don't have voltage on pin 1 or on your audio pin, so it's not going to be like you know, putting it on the 7300, which is already designed for condenser microphone and comes with a stock hand mic condenser microphone. When you would add a condenser microphone to that radio, you're probably going to have to get an outboard preamp with a condenser voltage, you know, a phantom power supply in the mic preamp, such as ART preamp. About $50 was give you DC volts on the mic to run a condenser microphone. Roger.
Okay. Well, I guess if I shop, I can look for condenser microphones that maybe say are backward compatible with a FT-990.
Well, it wouldn't be. I mean, your radio does not furnish DC volts for the operation of a condenser microphone. That's what I'm saying. To run a condenser microphone on that radio, you're going to need an outboard preamp that furnishes phantom power supply to the condenser element. Roger?
Okay. And also, I might look at getting a better dynamic microphone.
Well, you could, but I'd save my money for a condenser. Roger.
Okay. Well, look, I appreciate very much your information and critiquing my broadcast and whatever, and I enjoyed the QSO, and I'm going to thank you very much for what you've done.
Roger, Paul. Now, what's your location one more time?
West Monroe, Louisiana, home of Duck Dynasty.
Oh, right now, Duck Dynasty, but not Duct Tape Dynasty. That's another story there. And Gorilla Tape is even a further story than that.
Well, I don't use duct tape anymore. I'm a 100% Gorilla Tape man.
Oh yeah, Gorilla Tape's where it's at. I had to buy some Brand X tape the other day. For some reason, I had 3 major projects right in a row, and they all took Gorilla tape to solve the problem, and I ran out. Now, you don't want to run out of Gorilla Tape, but I had some old Brand X black tape, and oh man, it just I remembered all about that when I started using it, and how I swore I would never use regular tape like that again. But you know, conditions warrant what you have to do, Roger.
Well, to show you my big use of Gorilla Tape, we have trees in the backyard, and I'll put a 9x12 sheet of plastic down, put one end, tape it up against the fence, and half of it on the ground, and blow the leaves onto that. And then my wife and I will make a sausage out of it and tape it up with Gorilla Tape, and then I carry it out to the road. And the acid test is when the claw comes to pick up trash on Monday, and it picks it up and it doesn't come apart, I'm pleased.
Roger, yes. And the other thing is super glue, and there's one other thing, but I can't recall right at the moment. But anyway, Paul, let me say 3's down that way. You are sounding good, sir, and keep your mind on maybe getting a condenser mic. You really love it, but not necessary, not mandatory, but just a thought for you. So we'll say 3's for now, and we'll catch you later. You have a good day, sir.